Different for the channel. I'm taking a dive into some of the headlines regarding to Spain, and I'm looking at some of the facts regarding the Spanish tourist numbers, what British are spending, and are they the biggest spenders in Spain, as amongst other things. And then we're going to look at the ongoing issue going down in Orihuela, Costa. But the first one I thought I'd look at was from the Las Vegas Review Journal. Talking about the ongoing situation in Spain. Barcelona has a population of 1.7 million, but hosted 15.5 million visitors, which is the problem. It's driven over 30% more apartments in his neighbourhoods are for short-term rented to tourists. 30% of a neighbourhood apartments in a precinct in your town. Could you imagine that being rented out to tourists? And people say, oh, it's Barcelona, but this is why people are getting their back up against it. It goes on about the 5,000 people gathered in Palma, Mallorca, and they're always going about the water guns against the tourists, right? And they say it's a favourite of British and German sun seekers. Keep that in mind, because the British aren't the biggest spenders in Spain. And then it goes on about one tourist, American tourist, Wanda and Bill. Very American names. We love the Americans, and Spain loves the Americans as well. Walk along Barcelona's main luxury shopping boulevard, where a protest started. They received a squirt or two. And she said, I'm not going to complain. That was lovely. Thank you, sweetheart, said Wanda to the squirter. Sunday. That's lovely. Thank you, sweetheart, says Wanda to the squirter. Let's move on from that. Spain's economy. Yeah, Spain's economy is... Spain's posted 3.2% growth last year. And this goes on to say this is something that only Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves could dream of. And this goes on about the Spanish economy. As Spain's economy soars to immigration as its politics stagnate, is the headline. And... the Spanish economy is still booming compared to a lot of the EU, and it's definitely way ahead of the UK. The Spanish economy is predicted to grow between 0.5 and 0.6% in the second quarter, according to the statement from the country's central bank on Tuesday, which is all good. But a lot of people online are saying, stay away from Spain. And the narrative, and I'm going to show you a headline in Glasgow and in Scotland regarding tourists, and show you the different way that they target the tourists and how they talk about it. How one's an anti-tourist headline, and in the Scottish one it's a tax. So it's not anti-tourist at all. It's helping out the city. It's all good, you know. But anyway, in other news, there's 4.8 tons of cocaine. 4.8 tons. Holy mother of moly. 4.8 tons of cocaine destined for Spain have been seized. That's not obviously just destined for Spain. It's obviously, wow. It's... obviously going to be shipped around Europe, but it's been stopped, thankfully, because cocaine's a surge that it's something that it's just wrong, and it ruins lives, and it does ruin lives, and it ruins people's state of mind. So the more that can be done to stop the cocaine coming in from South America, the more the better. But 4.8 tons, someone's taking an awfully heavy hit, as they say. Talking about heavy hitters, there was a nice comment on the channel the other day. It said, you go to Spain to try something different. You go to Spain to try the tapas, the paella, and then you walk down the street and you come across 3 kebab shops and an Indian. And talking about Indians to avoid Spain travel amongst soaring rental costs. I'm trying to think how many. I could go down the whole Billy Connolly route or and comedian type route with this one, but I won't. But There's no you don't want to insult anybody. There's not many folk with turbans sitting down the beach, is there? Let's be honest. Sorry if I've insulted anyone, but it is in jest, do you know what I mean? It's many Indians do you see sitting down the beach. Anyway, during her spring break, so Americanised, during her spring break, one student, an MBA student, rolled up into a Spanish business school, and she had planned to explore the Basque Country after rigorous coursework. But with the prices for alternative accommodation skyrocketing and options limited, she stayed back in Madrid and settled for local sightseeing. The Spanish government has recently ordered Airbnb to take down more than 66,000 rental listings after they didn't clarify ownership and they didn't clarify whether they had a license to have the tourist license that you have to have in Spain. But anyway, this goes on to say that tensions are now echoing back in India's travel industry because of this one woman, and it said that more than 226,000 Indian tourists visited in 2024, grown of over 60% from 2022. Amazing. Spain will rue the fact that it's losing 100,000 tourists from India. But anyway, all tourists are welcome from all around the world, obviously. This is just a little bit Sunday jest. But it goes on to say, this year, pre-monsoon season. I'm trying to get away from the rain. What's that song? And I hear the rain down in... That's Africa, isn't it? This year, the pre-monsoon season bookings have dipped 32%. Which takes us to... I thought I would ask the internet. Yes, I'd ask AI to go and do some digging for me. And I asked AI, give me a breakdown of the Spanish tourist numbers for 2024. This is what AI should be used for, in my opinion, and how much each country spends per day per person. Here's a detailed breakdown of 2024 international tourist arrivals to Spain, showing the numbers of visitors, total spend, and estimate average daily spend per person for top markets. Now, a lot of people say in the UK, Spain would be nothing without the UK tourists, due to the vast numbers that they come to Spain in. But over a 7-night period, it says that the average daily spend of the UK citizen is €176. 176. Keep that number in mind. The USA, on the other hand, the big spenders from the good old USA, they spend 273, a good old €100 a night, a day more than people from the UK. And when it comes to the top spenders, it's not anybody from Europe, it's the Chinese. And the Chinese spend more per person per day in Spain, more than the British tourists, and €100 more than the USA tourists. They spend 200. It's way over €100 more than the UK tourists. They spend €288 a day. So what did that do for the tourism spend in Spain? The total international tourists was 93.8 million. Total tourism spend 126 billion. 126 billion. That's numbers that Donald Trump get excited about. Billions and billions and billions. The average spend per tourist is 1,300 over a 7-day period. Overall, daily average spend was 159. That's the December figures. December. It's talking about December. When you think about summer holidays, you think about Spain. But this is taking the number from the December figures. €159 per day in December. The national average stays is around about 9 days on holiday. The per person per day highlights the Chinese tourists spend more over a 10-night period. That comes from idealistic.com. The US tourists, they stay roughly around about 7.7 nights, and they spend 273. And then away down in third position is, I don't know if it's third position or it's just some of these nationalities listed. The lack breakdown. So anyway, the UK tourist spends 176. But then when you go into the likes of TikTok and you see videos when people have been there for about 3 or 4 days and the all they've spent is €200, it does make you wonder. So the fastest growing region are people coming from China, Japan and South Korea. Interesting. Top spenders are China, and then the Brits. Average monthly December average spend, which is crazy, absolute crazy. So I thought it would take me on to the. I was doing a little digging about what's been going on down in Costa, and obviously, unfortunately, there was a man who lost his life. We all remember that, and he was taken away out to Rahalis, and his body was disposed of there. And there has been ongoing situations down in Costa. A man shot in the head last week. There was someone stabbed again, and it seems to be the ongoing story that down in the Lasagna area, there's a bit of well, as the Spanish police have said it, there's a bit of a drug war, turf war going on. And that's coming from media. That's not me saying it, although it's well sort of known. The second serious incident involving Irish nationalists in recent days, prompting unease among locals and authorities alike. One of the guys that was stabbed in the street has also been named allegedly as a person that has been up to no good and breaking into houses. And it's not what the area needs. And I don't want to finish on a bit of bad news, so we're going to go back to Scotland. And we're going to talk about tourists in Scotland. And a headline: Glasgow gives the go-ahead for a tourist tax on visitors. Yes, it's anti-tourist. No, it's not. It's a tourist tax. We're just going to tax them. Cost them a little bit more to come to good old Scotland. Visitors to Glasgow will be charged an average of £4.83 per night extra for accommodations after council has approved a new tourist tax for the city. The levy, which was due to come into just in January 2027, will be a 5% charge on overnight stays. So for you'll be charged 5% extra per night when you go to Glasgow. Now, something similar was already brought in Edinburgh to cover hotels, guest houses, B&Bs and self-catering accommodation, as such as Airbnb. Now, the difference in the way that they're reporting it is, where is a tourist tax charged? And it goes on about different areas of Scotland. And it's not really talking about the issue of increased house prices. And this is where I think that the media, whilst they take all the bad headlines and say no tourists wanted in Spain, they'll go down this road and they'll not look into the real reason why people don't want tourists in Spain. They do want tourists in Spain. Spain is a country that loves tourists, and the fact it's the housing crisis that is the real issue. But the media back in Scotland will not promote the housing crisis that is currently in Scotland. When the wages have stagnated over the years, and my daughters are struggling to get on the housing market due to the fact that with the offers over system, the housing market, there's people buying up property in certain areas in certain cities, and just to put them on as Airbnb, and rather than trying to tackle that in the UK and in Scotland, they just say, well, we'll just tax the tourists. Isn't that anti-tourist? Isn't that just trying to get more money out of the tourists? But it's kind of just put into the back door and sweeping under the carpet the fact that nurses cannot afford to buy houses because the housing market is completely screwed. And gone are the days where you could buy a house and you could put down a £2,000 or £3,000 deposit. And that's the reality of the situation back home in the UK. And it's the exact same with the reality here in Spain. Spanish people are unable to buy houses in the towns that they want to stay, that they've grew up in, and that they work in. And the same's happening in the UK, but and this is where it gets even funnier. Glasgow accommodation provides would be liable for the levy and required to submit quarterly reports. Potential penalties for non-compliance against organisations. Businesses would retain 1.5% of the fund collected to cover their own costs. Brilliant, isn't it? Anyway, it's just a little bit of the news that's going on here in Spain today, and it's a little bit of something different. Obviously, going back to how Spain has been reported around the world, from Las Vegas to India. Bizarre.